Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Wanted to start out by saying, if you have not yet watched my interview from yesterday, where I interviewed Cade Powers and Lazarus Change, please go back and watch that interview, even if you're not a wrestling fan or an indie wrestling fan. It always feels good to support all the local indie guys, and I'm so glad they decided to stop by the studio and be interviewed. It's not long, but I want everybody to watch it, so next time I'm talking about a SWA show and you hear me say Cade Powers and Lazarus Change, you'll know who I'm talking about. You'll be able to put a face with the name next time you hear them. And then I wanted to say that we are getting ready to go to Pigeon Forge. Now, we're not going for an entire week. We're leaving today, and we're coming back on Wednesday. So it's a short mini vacation, just a short trip to get away for a couple of days and hopefully enjoy the nice weather that we hope we have up there. So by the time you watch this video, or maybe before you watch this video, depending on when you watch it, we will hopefully be up there. So we're going to try to record something tomorrow. Don't know what it will be, but we are going to try to record something and put it on the YouTube page. But if there is no video tomorrow, then you know why. It's because we're on our short mini vacation and couldn't find enough time in our one full day there to record anything with our 3 kids. And if you watched my video yesterday where I interviewed Cade and Lazarus, you heard me say that this Wednesday on my top 10 countdown, this week's top 10 countdown is going to be the top 10 all-time best big men in pro wrestling. Somebody asked me to do that probably 2 months ago. And I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I don't write this stuff down. I just go by memorization. That's why sometimes I forget stuff. It's not meaning to. I just don't write it down, because with 3 small kids in the house, I'm scared I'll write it down and put it somewhere, and then I'll forget where I put it. So I don't write this stuff down. I just go by memorization. So somebody asked me to do it, and whoever asked me to do it, I'm sorry that I forgot, but it hit me, I believe it was Friday, that somebody asked me to do that. So I'm going to do that on Wednesday. So if you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions on maybe who some of your all-time favorite big men are, please feel free to let me know, and then you'll find out on Wednesday whether or not they're in my list of the top 10 all-time best big men in pro wrestling. It doesn't have to be WWE. It doesn't have to be AEW. It can be all-time in the history of wrestling, no matter where, no matter when, no matter what company. It does not matter. If you have a big man that you like, please feel free to let me know. And I said this in the video when I was interviewing Cade and Lazarus, but I'll go ahead and say it again, that to me, a big man has to be at least 6'10" or at least 400 pounds to qualify as a wrestling big man. Like the Big Boss Man was a big man, but he was 6'6", a little over 300. To me, that's not a wrestling big man. So to me, to be on my list, you've got to either be at least 6'10" or at least 400 pounds. But on to today's video. Today we're going to do our weekly Braves report. They don't play tonight. They're off tonight, and they'll kick off this week's action tomorrow night with a 3-game series against the Mets. And then this weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they also have a 3-game series against the Marlins. But I wanted the Braves to go 5-3 this past week, but instead they went 4-4. They did not have an off day, and they played the doubleheader, of course, Monday against the Mets. So they split 4 games with the Mets, and they split 4 games with the Reds, so they went 4-4. 2 weeks ago they started the week at 30-33, and they went 3-3, so they finished at 33-36. And this week they went 4-4, so they're still 3 games below 500 with 37 wins and 40 losses. So if there are no rainouts this week, then by the time the Braves play Friday night, when that game ends, they'll have 81 games down, 81 games to go, so they'll officially be halfway through the regular season. Now, of course, Major League Baseball tells us that the All-Star break is the official midway point of the season, but to me, if you play 162 games, then the middle of the season is when you've played 81 games. So on Friday, the Braves will be halfway through the regular season. Still have yet to be above 500. Every time they get to 500, they lose a couple and get back below it, but they're still only 5 games out in the division because the Mets and Phillies played over the weekend. They beat up on each other, so the Braves are still just 5 games out of first place. So if they can manage to put together an 8 or 9 game winning streak, they would be right there. But of course, the Braves have yet to do that all year long. I believe the Braves' longest winning streak, I think, is 3 games. But then they came right back and lost the next 4. So that short mini winning streak didn't do diddly squat. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the off-the-field news, they moved Tucker Davidson, who actually looked really good in his 3 starts, from the 10-day injured list to the 60-day injured list. So I don't think you'll see him return this year. So right now the Braves' starting rotation is Ian Anderson, Charlie Morton, Drew Smiley, Bryce Wilson, and Kyle Muller actually pitched in yesterday's game against the Reds, and he looked really good. The Braves won yesterday 4-0. Acuna had his 21st home run of the season, and Austin Riley had his 13th home run of the season. And I already like Kyle Muller better than Bryce Wilson or Kyle Wright. I'm about ready to give up on both of those guys. I'm about ready to put Sean Newcomb back in the rotation and let him get a shot over another outing from Bryce Wilson or Kyle Wright. I know Sean Newcomb walks a lot of men, and that's why he's in the bullpen. But Bryce Wilson and Kyle Wright also walk a lot of men. But Sean Newcomb sometimes does show that he's able to get out of the innings when he walks batters, and Bryce Wilson and Kyle Wright just cannot do that. But you also had catcher who started the season as the backup catcher, Alex Jackson. He got transferred to the 60-day DL, so I don't think he'll play again this year. And Mike Soroka tore his Achilles for the 3rd time in less than a year. This time he tore his Achilles walking to the clubhouse. And I'm afraid that Mike Soroka is going to be another injury-prone pitcher. I'm not saying that he's never going to pitch again, but I'm saying I don't think he's ever going to be a starter that you can reliably depend on to go out there and pitch every 5 days when you're called upon, because as young as he is, he's in his prime, and he's tearing Achilles walking to the clubhouse. That's not a good sign. Now, if you follow baseball, I'm going to say 2 names that you'll recognize, but late 90s, early 2000s, the Cubs had 2 pitchers named Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. Now, Mark Pryor is still involved in Major League Baseball as a pitching coach, but those 2 pitchers, when they came out of the minor league system, were supposed to be 2 of the best pitchers the game had ever seen, and they may have eventually gotten there if they could have stayed healthy. But they couldn't. They'd have 1 start, and they'd leave with an injury. And then they'd be out for a month. And then they'd come back and make a start, and then they'd go on the 15-day DL. They just never could go through an entire season making more than maybe 10 starts because they were hurt all the time. And I've got a feeling Mike Soroka is going to be that way, and I hate it because he's got so much talent. But when you're tearing up your Achilles, walking to a clubhouse, that's not good. So now they're saying he definitely will not pitch this year, and he probably won't be ready to pitch by early next year. But I do think if the Braves don't have a winning streak coming up here in the next couple of weeks, they just need to chalk it up and just say it's not our year. And the reason why I say that is because the rotation is Ian Anderson, who is nowhere near as good as he was last year. And I know I've hit on this before, but in case you're new to the channel, or if you're like me and you're so disgusted at how the Braves have played, maybe you haven't watched every weekly Braves report that we do, so I'll touch on it again. But Ian Anderson is nowhere near as good as he was last year. Charlie Morton started out bad, but his last 3 starts, he's been really good. Max Fried is back on the injured list for 10 days, so we don't know if he'll be back within those 10 days, and if he is, can he go the rest of the season healthy? Don't know. And you've been on the DL twice in half a season, chances are you're probably going to go back on there before the season's over. And then I've already said that Bryce Wilson's no good. Kyle Wright's no good. They actually started Jesse Chavez on Thursday, and that was his first start for the Braves since 2008. But he has had a few starts over the years for other teams, but he's really a long reliever. But the Braves started him because they had that doubleheader on Monday, and they had no off days, so they were low on arms. He started, I think he went 2 1/3 innings, but I don't think you'll see Chavez get any more starts. But Muller right now is better than Wilson or Wright, but really the Braves need at least 1, probably 2 starting pitchers, since you don't know exactly when and if Max Fried will be back. Drew Smiley's been off and on all season long. He's looked really good his last 3 starts, but he's still very, very inconsistent. So you need at least 1, if not 2, starting pitchers. Your bullpen has been up and down all year long. You need at least 1 more catcher now that you know Alex Jackson is probably more than likely out for the year because William Contreras can't catch every day. Still no word on if Travis d'Arnaud will be back. They're looking at August, but that's not a guarantee. And the backup right now is Kevin Smith, who cannot hit. He's hitting, I think, 175 since the Braves got him from Tampa Bay. So you need at least 1 catcher, at least 1 guy, if not 2, in the starting rotation, and at least 1 in the bullpen. And we know we need an outfielder because of Ozuna being out and probably not ever again going to play for the Braves. But if you trade 8, 9, or 10 prospects total to get your catcher and your rotation guy and your bullpen guy and your outfield guy, then when the season's over with, those guys turn around and leave, and you've already lost the prospects you traded. That's going to hurt you in the long run. And if the Braves only had 1 thing they needed, then I would say, hey, trade 2 or 3 young prospects and get that 1 piece you need. But the Braves don't need 1 piece. They need outfield help. They need rotation help. They need catching help. They need bullpen help. And if you start trading all your guys that are supposed to be so good down in the minor leagues for a few pieces for the rest of the year, you're hurting yourself for the future. So if the Braves don't go on a 8, 9, 10 game winning streak here before long, and we get around to the All-Star break or the trade deadline and you're still below 500, I say you just say, you know what, it's not our year. Because there's no sense in making it worse for the future by trading all these great prospects that you have. But they've played so bad right now that I'm about ready to let some of these prospects that are supposed to be so good have a shot. I know they say Drew Waters ain't ready, but in left field, I'll take him over Almonte. I'll take him over Adrianza. I'll take him over Heredia. And they've got so much pitching depth. And the way their rotation has been and the way their bullpen has been, I don't think you're going to hurt yourself by giving those guys a chance. They went out a few weeks back and signed another catcher, and he has yet to play on the major league team. And Kevin Smith is so bad, and Contreras is only hitting like 230. I don't know why you wouldn't give that guy a chance. So they're signing all these players, but then they're not playing them. And if you're signing all these guys and the guys you have aren't performing, and it's June 28th and you're 3 games below 500, I don't see how you're hurting yourself to just give them a chance. If it don't work, you tried. I know you look at it and you think we're only 5 games out. We've still got a chance. Then if you're realistic about it and you realize you haven't had more than a 3 or 4 game winning streak all year long. Not only do you have to pass the Mets, but you're also behind the Nationals. You're also right there neck and neck with the Phillies. Both teams are 3 games below 500, but the Braves right now, by percentage points, are considered third place because they have one more win, but they also have one more loss. So you're neck and neck with the Mets and the Nationals and the Phillies. So even if you do have a 5 or 6 game winning streak, it might get you a little bit closer, but then you also have to hope that the Mets and the Phillies and the Nationals all have a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Otherwise, your small winning streak doesn't matter. So you're not catching one team, you're really trying to catch 3 teams. So I know you look at it and think 5 games ain't that much, but realistically, when you've played up and down ball all year long and you win 1, lose 2, win 2, lose 3, win 3, lose 3, middle of the season, they always say you pretty much know who you are. And you are what your record says you are. And the Braves right now are a 500 team. And if they don't make some kind of change somewhere in the next couple of weeks, there's no reason to wait till July 31st for the trade deadline, because by that time, you're done for. You're not going to go into August with 2 months to play and be behind the Mets and the Nationals and the Phillies and be 8 or 9 games out and make one trade on the day of the trade deadline and think that's going to turn your season around. Because unless your rotation gets more reliable and your bullpen gets more reliable and your outfield gets more reliable, then making one move ain't going to change a hill of beans. Now, I will say Shane Green had been absolutely pitiful since the Braves re-signed him, but he had a couple of outings over the weekend. I think it was Friday and yesterday, or it might have been Saturday and yesterday, and he actually had 2 scoreless innings, so hopefully he has turned it around. But Luke Jackson's ERA was down to 1.04, and then he gave up runs on Friday and gave up runs Saturday, I believe it was. So Luke Jackson's been their best reliever all year long, and now he's showing signs of a struggle. But hopefully at least the back end of the bullpen will become more reliable, because you can't go to a stretch run come August where you need these wins and your bullpen, all your reliable guys like Minter and Newcomb and Green and Martin, still have ERAs in the 4s and 5s. Otherwise, you can't depend on them. But we can still hold out hope, because 5 games is still reachable. So we can still hope that they have some sort of mini winning streak. If they can have a 5 or 6 game winning streak, I think that'll build a little bit of confidence. Like I said, they play the Mets Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then they play the Marlins, and then next week they play the Pirates, and that's 2 teams that are struggling right now. So hopefully the Braves can take at least 4 of the 6 when they play the Marlins and the Pirates, and at least get back to 500, and then we'll go from there. We'll go ahead and get our dad joke of the day, and then we'll get out of here. I hate when my wife gets mad at me for being lazy. It's not like I did anything. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.